Welcome to the deep dive. You know how sometimes things we try just, well, they seem to click, and other times it feels like no matter what we do, they just fall flat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, today we're diving into a really core reason behind that, your risk attitude.
Mm.
Think of this as like a fast-tracked understanding why some decisions, big ones, small ones, why they lead to success or maybe struggle, both at work and, well, at home too.
Right. It affects everything.
We've got some really interesting stuff to dig into today, some insights from a risk doctor briefing, and also some perspectives from the risk doctor on YouTube.
Yeah, good material.
So our mission, basically, is to really get a handle on what risk attitude is, why it's, such a key thing, and maybe most importantly, how understanding it can help you be way more effective in actually achieving what you set out to do.
Exactly. This is really about understanding your kind of natural responses when you're facing the unknown. And maybe to get us started, we should nail down some basics.
Good idea.
Our sources seem to agree that risk basically boils down to uncertainty that could have either a good or a bad impact on what you're trying to do. Pretty straightforward, really.
Okay, let's unpack that a little. Uncertainty.
Yeah.
That could help or hinder us. Yeah, makes sense. And then there's attitude. What do you mean by attitude here?
Right. So in this context, attitude is more like a chosen state of mind, a mental outlook, or maybe a disposition regarding a fact or a state. So it's not just a passing mood, it's more deliberate.
A deliberate mental stance. Okay, so put this together for us. What is risk attitude then?
Well, combining them, the sources define it as your chosen state of mind when you're faced with those uncertainties, the ones that could positively or negatively affect your goals.
Okay.
Or maybe even simpler. It's your chosen response when you perceive significant uncertainty. And a really key point here, something we'll probably keep coming back to, is that it's chosen.
Chosen?
It's not just something that happens to you. You're actively, maybe consciously, maybe not, but you're making a choice in how you react.
Right. It's how we choose to feel and what we choose to do when things feel a bit, well, uncertain. So this isn't just about whether you're like a thrill seeker, is it? It goes deeper.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, those extreme examples like bungee jumping, they can highlight it. But risk attitude is really more of a continuous scale.
Right.
At one end, you've got the risk averse. These are people who generally feel pretty uncomfortable with uncertainty. They actively try to avoid risk.
You steer clear.
Yeah. And the risk doctor briefing actually made a good point here. It said this can range from just, being a bit cautious all the way to what might seem kind of paranoid behavior, just extreme avoidance.
Wow, okay. So like fear of failure stopping you before you even start something, even if it looks promising.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
That's a classic example of a risk-averse attitude, maybe holding you back unnecessarily.
Okay, so the super planners, the backup plan for the backup plan people. What about the other end of this spectrum?
Well, over there, you have the risk-seeking. These folks actually welcome uncertainty. They might even, enjoy the buzz or the thrill that comes with taking a risk. And again, it's a spectrum. Could be someone who just likes trying adventurous food, or it could be someone who's consistently into high-stakes stuff, like maybe very volatile investments.
The daredevils, right. The ones who thrive on unpredictability. But most of us aren't at those extremes, are we? We must fall somewhere in between.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
In the middle, you find the risk-tolerant. These people generally don't have a huge emotional reaction either way to uncertainty. It doesn't particularly thrill them, but it doesn't really scare them much either. It's a more stable middle ground.
Kind of the go with the flow or let's see what happens type.
Yeah, in a way. And then there's actually a fourth category the sources bring up, risk neutral.
Oh.
Yeah, this one's interesting. It involves taking a longer-term view. A risk-neutral person might be willing to take risks now if they think it'll lead to a bigger payoff, or maybe less risk later on.
So they're strategic about it.
Kind of. It's like they're prepared to be maybe a bit risk-seeking in the short term to achieve a more risk-averse outcome down the road.
Okay, taking a calculated gamble now for future stability. That's a really useful distinction for, for our listeners to think about. Now, something that really jumped out at me from the Risk Doctor's videos was this idea that our attitude isn't fixed. It's not like we're stuck being one way.
Yes, that's absolutely crucial to get. Your risk attitude isn't like a fixed personality trait, like being an introvert or extrovert. It's variable. Where you are on that spectrum can shift depending on the specific situation.
Right. Can you give us some examples? How might someone listening right now see this in their own life?
Sure. Think about money. financial investments.
Mm-hmm.
You might be really quite risk averse there, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to protect your savings, sticking to low risk stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But maybe when it comes to, say, raising your kids, you might be more risk tolerant, sort of in the middle. You let them try things, learn from mistakes, even if there's some small risks involved.
Mm.
And then maybe your hobbies, I don't know, surfing, rock climbing, whatever, maybe there you lean towards being risk-seeking. You enjoy the challenge, the adrenaline.
That really hits home. I can totally see that. Super cautious with the mortgage, but yeah, maybe more willing to try some crazy new recipe I found online. It's like different settings for different things.
Exactly. And the sources even give a career example. Imagine you get offered a big promotion, lots more responsibility, bigger team.
Yeah, yeah.
Your first gut reaction might be risk averse, worried, can I handle this? Am I experienced enough?
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
But then you might realize, well, to get where I want to go in my career long term, I actually need to choose a more risk-seeking attitude here. Embrace the challenge. Trust I can learn.
So just being aware that we can shift is important, but let's back up a bit. Why does this matter so much? Why should our listener really care about where they tend to fall?
Because, and this is what the resources really stress, your risk attitude fundamentally shapes how you behave when you face uncertainty. The attitude you choose, consciously or not, directly drives how you respond. Are you going to be aggressive, trying to dodge threats and grab opportunities, or more cautious, focused on minimizing the bad stuff and only carefully going after the good? Or maybe just accept things as they come.
It's like the captain deciding how to navigate the storm. Yeah. Your attitude sets the course.
Precisely. And it doesn't stop at individual behavior. The sources point out that risk attitude massively impacts how well risk management processes work.
Ah, like in a company.
Yeah. Or even just planning a family vacation, right?
Yeah.
These processes are run by people.
Yeah.
And those people make judgments based on their attitudes. If you don't get how the people involved respond to risk, any plan you make is likely to be, well, less effective, maybe even useless.
That makes complete sense. A team that's super risk-averse might just analyze everything to death and miss the boat.
Right.
While a team full of risk seekers might just leap without looking properly.
Exactly. So, bottom line, risk attitude is this fundamental driver of behavior when things are uncertain. Projects, business decisions, personal choices, it's right there at the core.
Okay, got it. It's crucial. So now we know what it is and why it's important to be aware of. Let's dig into what actually shapes it, what pushes us one way or the other on that spectrum.
Right. Well, the resources break down the influences into three main types: conscious, subconscious, and affective.
Okay, conscious first.
Yeah, conscious influences. These are the sort of rational, deliberate evaluations you make. Thinking about the risk versus the reward, doing a cost-benefit analysis, judging how much risk there actually is, how exposed you are, maybe even directly comparing different risky options.
So this is the logical brain trying to work it out, weighing the pros and cons.
That's the idea. But of course, that's only one piece of the puzzle. We're also hugely influenced by subconscious stuff, things that affect our judgment without us even really noticing.
Okay, like what?
Well, the sources mention things like heuristics and cognitive biases.
Heuristics. Right, those mental shortcuts our brain takes.
Exactly. Quick ways to make judgments. One example from the briefing is the availability heuristic. Basically, how easily something comes to mind influences how likely you think it is.
Uh-huh.
So, if you can easily remember a really bad outcome from a similar situation in the past, you might feel much more risk-averse about it now, even if, statistically, it's not that likely to happen again.
Yeah. Like hearing about one plane crash makes you nervous about flying, even though it's incredibly safe overall.
Precisely. Another one mentioned is groupthink, where the pressure to conform in a team stops people from voicing real concerns about risks. Everyone just goes along with it.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one in meetings. And biases, what about those?
Cognitive biases. These are like predictable patterns in our thinking that can lead us astray. The resources mention familiarity bias. We tend to prefer things we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if an unfamiliar option is actually less risky or offers better rewards.
We stick with what's comfortable.
Yeah. And then there's propinquity. Fancy word, but just means we tend to think things that are closer to us physically or maybe emotionally are more important or riskier. You might overestimate the risks of something happening in your town, but underestimate bigger risks happening far away. Or you downplay risks in a project you really care about.
Wow. So our minds play tricks on us, basically. Favoring the familiar, the close, the easily remembered. That's, yeah, something to watch out for. And the last category, affective. Sounds like feelings.
Exactly. Effective influences are your emotions. Simple as that. We like to think we're rational, but how you're feeling right now, stressed, happy, angry, excited, can massively sway your risk attitude.
So if I'm having a bad day, I might be overly cautious.
Could be. Or if you're feeling super optimistic and on top of the world, you might take a gamble you wouldn't normally consider. It all mixes together the conscious thoughts, the subconscious shortcuts and biases, and your current mood.
This is incredibly helpful for understanding ourselves, but the big question then is, can we actually do anything about this? Are we stuck with our gut reactions, or can we manage these attitudes? You said it was a chosen response.
You're right on track. That chosen part is key. While that initial gut feeling might be automatic, the sources offer a really practical, almost simple framework for managing it. It's based on applied emotional intelligence. 6 steps, all starting with A.
6 A's. Okay, lay them on me.
Okay, first is awareness. Just recognizing what attitude you're actually showing right now. What's your immediate feeling about this uncertainty?
Wait.
Are you pulling back, leaning in, just noticing?
Step 1, notice. Got it.
Second A, appreciation. This means understanding where that feeling is coming from. Is it a logical calculation?
Got conscious.
Is it one of those sneaky biases or heuristics, subconscious? Or is it just because you're feeling grumpy or excited today? Effective.
Okay, so why am I feeling this way? Digging a bit deeper.
Exactly. Third A is assessment. This is critical. You evaluate whether the attitude you're displaying is actually helpful for achieving your goals in this specific situation. Is this caution protecting you, or is it stopping you? Is this enthusiasm justified, or is it maybe a bit reckless right now?
Right, asking yourself, is this reaction actually serving me well here?
Precisely. Number 4 is acceptance. Now, if you assess your attitude and decide, yeah, actually, this level of caution or this level of seeking is appropriate right now, it aligns with my objectives, then great, accept it, move on. No need to change what's working.
Makes sense. Don't fix what isn't broken. But what if the assessment says, uh-oh, this attitude is not helping me? That's where the last 2 A's come in.
Correct. If your assessment shows your attitude is getting in the way, the 5th A is assertion. This is about consciously stating, okay, this needs to change. You acknowledge your current approach isn't the best one, and you make a deliberate decision to adopt a different one.
It's making that mental shift, deciding to change course.
Yes. And that leads directly to the final A, action. Taking actual steps to modify your attitude. This could mean forcing yourself to look at the rational data again, deliberately seeking out different views to challenge your biases, or maybe doing something to manage your emotions, like taking a break, deep breaths, talking it through.
So it's a cycle. Aware, appreciate why, assess if it works, accept if yes, assert change if no, and then act on that change.
You got it. And the resources had a great example. A mining company board. They were being super cautious about a new investment. Why? Because a similar thing went bad years ago in another country.
Okay, availability heuristic maybe?
Probably. So through coaching, they became aware of their excessive caution. They appreciated it came from that old failure. They assessed that this level of caution wasn't really appropriate for this new, different opportunity.
Different situation.
So they asserted the need for a more objective look, and they took action to reevaluate based on this project's merits, not the ghost of the past one. Led to a much more rational decision.
That's a fantastic illustration. And it shows it works for groups too, not just individuals, like a project manager wrestling with a decision or a whole leadership team. It really highlights that connection between understanding this stuff and just making better choices.
Absolutely. And that really brings us full circle. Understanding and managing your risk attitude, it's not just some, academic exercise. It's really fundamental to success versus failure in business, in projects, just in life generally.
Yeah.
When you, the listener, become more aware of how you choose to respond to uncertainty, and you learn you can adjust that response when needed, you just get so much better at navigating challenges and grabbing opportunities.
Okay, so wrapping this up for everyone listening, this deep dive has shown that your risk attitude isn't some fixed part of your personality. It's dynamic, it's changeable, and it massively influences your decisions and outcomes. But the really hopeful message, I think, is that you're not just stuck with it. You can actually understand it and manage it.
That's the key takeaway. That first step towards being better at handling risk, whether personal or professional, is just getting a clearer picture of your own attitudes and what's driving them, the conscious, the subconscious, the emotional stuff.
Right.
And the real power, like we saw with the 6 A's, comes from realizing you can manage and modify these attitudes. You have agency.
So as you go about your day, maybe when you hit one of those uncertain moments, try asking yourself those 4 questions we touched on. How am I feeling right now? Why do I feel this way? Is this feeling, this response, actually helping me get what I want? And if not, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah, those simple questions are surprisingly powerful tools. They build that self-awareness, which is the foundation for managing your attitude better in, well, pretty much everything you do.
Definitely. Maybe one final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. Think back to a recent time you faced some real uncertainty. How did your risk attitude then affect what you did and how it turned out? And what might have been different if you'd consciously chosen a different attitude in that moment? Something to reflect on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.